On our first episode of Small Screeners for the MC Network, we decided to go with the phenomenon that is Game of Thrones. Season 7 has wrapped up, and as our beloved characters head into the long night, we head into the long wait to find out what happens to everyone who survived Sunday night's finale, with recent news leading fans to speculate that Season 8 won't air until 2019. With obvious spoilers for the entirety of Season 7, save this video if you have yet to watch all 442 glorious minutes of it, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and would like to see more. We're going to kick things off by talking about some character arcs this season and where they might be headed. From there, we will dive into the overall plot and talk about some of the major events from this season, and finally we will finish off by mentioning some major fan theories as well as our take on them. The two resounding devices we noticed almost every character put through this season was a mirroring of their previous lessons and choices, and the idea of their destiny. This is evident right from the cold opening in Episode 1, which resolves the Red Wedding from Season 3. A Stark kills the Freys as the Freys killed the Starks, which could be said to fulfill at least part of Arya's destiny of crossing names off her list. While these devices are sometimes used as a storytelling ploy to ride the success of previous installments, we believe that they are utilized quite effectively here to show us the development, or lack thereof, that the characters have gone through since the beginning of the story. Season 7 takes advantage of every opportunity to put the characters in these mirrored situations to show us how they have changed during the build-up to the final conflict, as well as marking the trajectory for a resolution to their respective arcs. In light of the structure of the penultimate season, we suspect all the survivors will have major parts to play before the end. We want to briefly touch upon some of them now, summing up their arcs so far and looking forward to where we think their futures will go. Who better to begin with than the character that is always talking of destiny, Beric Dondarrion. Beric talks about destiny all season, to the Hound and Jon Snow. While beyond the wall, he suggests that he and Jon were brought back to kill the Night King and end the whole conflict right now. While his idea doesn't work out in that place and time, we think that this may be a foreshadowing device for a moment in the future where Beric attempts to kill the Night King while Jon watches him fail and die for good. In doing so, however, it will reveal something important regarding how to actually kill him, ultimately allowing Beric's life and final death to have meaning. If all these characters have an ultimate destiny, what is next for a character like the Hound? Our second character to look closer at, when we first see him, he is following the Brotherhood but still lacks faith. We see a mirroring in his torment when returning to the barn owned by the now-dead family he had stolen silver from. Convinced that there is no destiny, a vision in the fire casts some doubt on this hardened view of things. He travels with the others beyond the wall, not fully buying into the idea of gods, and his practical mind helps to ground things whenever they get too mystical. His purpose is undoubtedly to face his brother, calling him out in the middle of the dragon pit. This will mirror the first fight that they had in Season 1 that was cut short by King Robert. As he reaches the end of his arc, we can speculate that he will indeed win the fight with his brother, but likely die in the process, mirroring Oberon's fight with the Mountain that he almost won and then lost. Clegane Bowl, as it is affectionately referred to, seems very likely. The Night King is the greatest threat to Westeros, and he is more powerful than we originally thought, on account of his blue fire-breathing dragon white, but also something else even more terrifying. While given hints in the past to his possible foresight, like when Bran was somehow grabbed by him while scrying on the army of the dead, this season has made it more clear that he must know many things. He baited a trap to get that dragon, he was prepared for it with appropriate weapons and chains, and it was part of his plan to get through the wall. Without ravens bringing him word of the existence of dragons, it would imply that he must have knowledge of them through some other means. Is he another three-eyed raven? We think that the Night King is making his own destiny, and with possible insight into the future, his machinations are far more threatening than we thought. Before the end, he will keep succeeding before he fails, and we suspect that it will be Bran who takes him out. Bran would be the last choice for anyone in Westeros to battle the Night King. While we agree that sending Bran on his new wheelchair and armed with the cat's paw dagger toward the army of the dead would be foolhardy, even if he can warg into a dragon, we feel that his best chance would be to fight the Night King on a more ethereal plane. Bran has been shown to be able to affect the past, and we suspect he may find a pivotal moment to kill the icy villain as the Three-Eyed Raven. Now that he has helped clear up his sister's dispute, he is free to focus on what is important with no distractions. We suspect that Bran is central to the story's endgame. The second Stark to come home again, Arya is almost the person most changed by her journey, hindered only by her decision to remain Arya. We see her demonstrate control this season by not murdering Lannister men who seem innocent overall. She struggles with her urge to complete her kill list of betrayers to House Stark, almost adding Sansa to the list. In the past, she has been unable or unwilling to see the world beyond the lines of black and white. Mirroring where she began, Arya shows us that she has become the dangerous warrior she always wanted to be. And where she goes from here will come down to who guides her next. After a string of teachers have offered up their skills to her, she has yet to be directed towards a sensible ideology that she accepts beyond doling out justice to whomever she feels deserves it. We want her reunion with Jon. He is the heart that she needs to direct her. Other than Bran, Sansa has been changed the most through her experiences. She even knows that she has learned a lot, and we see her demonstrate intelligence in every scene she occupies. Her only folly comes in succumbing to Littlefinger's manipulations for so long. While in the end, she manages to outsmart him, fear for her own safety almost allows him to use the chaos to orchestrate her decisions once again. Sansa, like Arya, has become what she always wanted, but her path there was nothing like she had expected. She knows the game, but as we know, the game isn't as important as we once believed. We feel that the struggle between the sisters was preparation for next season when one of them will die. Unless Sansa can see the bigger picture, she may not last through the long night, despite her new skill set. Theon and his pathetic attempts at redemption all fall apart during Season 7, as he is unable to step up and protect his sister. Although he has suffered enough by any standard, his failure here shows that one act does not redeem a character. He can only be forgiven for so much. We think that he will have another opportunity to prove himself, and Jon's heart-to-heart where he names him a Stark seems to have given him back some of his pride. We think that this will allow him to sacrifice himself in service of redemption when the opportunity comes again. Jon has had a really simple arc this season. Determined to stop the Night King, he abandons the North to travel to Daenerys, seeking her aid and access to Dragonglass. With tons of hints towards their eventual union in the finale, and his discovery of his Targaryen heritage, we wonder how the knowledge that Jon has a better claim to the throne will affect their relationship. Last season, we saw him resurrected, mirroring Dany's rebirth out of fire. He was also propped up in the Battle of the Bastards in a similar way to Dany in her Mesa scene, and we can now clearly see that their two stories are the Song of Ice and Fire we are being told. As outlined by Davos nicely when he explains things to Dany, Jon and her have traveled similar journeys, leading to both eventually being selected for leadership despite lowly beginnings. His destiny seems to be the once and future king, a rightful heir who found his way to the top again on his own merit. The same story we were being told about Dany without knowing it. The way that the show is usually bittersweet, we can expect that one of them may not survive until the end, and Jon, having died once already, seems the more likely choice to take a sword to save her and perhaps their child. Daenerys has had a more frustrating journey this season. From her homecoming being rather underwhelming at first, to her impatience with the counsel Tyrion provided, it was hard not to root for her burning down King's Landing, regardless of the consequences. Her meeting with Jon was equally hard to watch. Where usually we are invested in one side of a conflict, here it was hard to be silent as we desired some improbable resolution where they became immediate friends. The full season arc of their relationship was more satisfying as their shared experience beyond the wall made more sense as a means to unite them, despite the loss of Viserion. We see her story come full circle as she begins to accomplish what we have waited 7 seasons for. It is littered with callbacks, namely Dothraki finally fighting knights in an open field, the storm at Dragonstone that was like the one she was born in, and the death of Viserys mirroring Viserion's. Her destiny is less clear than it was when we first began the season, with a lot of talk about who will be her successor and what would happen if she died. We wonder if perhaps Jon will in fact outlive her. Tyrion's story has brought him far and wide across the lands of Westeros and Essos. He is the most level-headed character, and we think that, as viewers, we are meant to relate to him the most, with his mindset being closer to ours than the other characters. His arc shows someone who has gone from being a man who drinks life away because the world is too screwed up, to a man who sees a way to fix the problems around him and actively works towards it. He is the character who knows what to do, and although he makes some terrible military mistakes, they are the consequences of trying to protect people, particularly, as Dany points out, his family. We think that his family will be his downfall. Together with Jaime, he will confront Cersei once more before the end, mirroring this season's reunion, but this time the 3 Lannister siblings will probably not survive. Cersei is a complex anti-hero that we love to hate because of the understanding we have for her as a mother and a woman in a man's world. She has clawed her way up to where she is now, suffering along with everyone else, and is fiercely able to destroy her enemies. We should have been more careful to remember that lionesses are the hunters of the pride. Despite her ability to wield power so well, Cersei struggles this season with her resolve. Her inability to kill her brothers shows that she is not as cold as she lets on. We thought that Cersei would make the mistake of going too far in front of Jaime and killing any one of the attendees at the meeting of the 3 kingdoms, but she surprised us by holding back, something uncharacteristic of her. With the confirmation of her pregnancy and her talking about what she fears in the face of death, we think that this is a temporary bout of compassion, and we will see her return to her old self next season, causing trouble with the purchased sellsword army, the Gold Company.
Your father's daughter, indeed.
Jaime has been on an interesting character arc, where they took someone we hate and made us love him. Throwing Bran out the window made our endearment toward Jaime a hard thing to accomplish, but it was done, and he was the one element of Cersei's side we still rooted for before their quarrel in the finale. We have seen him show his honor with Brienne, and this season he mirrors his old self, reverting back, much like Theon, supporting Cersei and hardly questioning her demands. He does hold some sway with her, convincing her to spare the Queen of Thorns a painful death, learning some hard truth about Joffrey's death along the way. It is not until he witnesses the full might of the dragons that he considers the folly in their plight, returning to Cersei only to be manipulated into obeying her again. In the end of this season, he chooses honor, turning his back on his sister and heading towards the north alone. While many speculated that he would kill Cersei because she used wildfire in the way that the Mad King threatened to before Jaime put him down, we think that it will have something to do with a more direct and personal attack on the only other woman we know Jaime has feelings for. Brienne killed Stannis already. She was mildly involved in bringing the Stark girls together, and she hasn't done much this season. She could easily fulfill her purpose by dying at the Mountain's hand on Cersei's command. This would infuriate the Hound into fighting the Mountain and convince Jaime that Cersei is too far gone and must be put down. We would hope that Brienne's death could involve Tormund in some way, but that's most likely wishful thinking. Sam is another character that seems like he is reaching the end of his arc. He accomplished the tasks he needed to at the Citadel, saving Jorah and learning of the Dragonglass mine. Gilly even provided him with a vital piece of information that confirms Jon is the heir to the throne, with Sam recognizing its significance during his reunion with Bran. If not for his name and position as the best friend to our protagonist, we would think Sam could die at any moment. However, because of the mention of a poetic record of history, we suspect that Sam will end up writing the Song of Ice and Fire after surviving the final battle and returning home with his wife and child. Jorah had his chance to die, but was redeemed much in the same way as Jon or Beric. His story had many instances that mirrored his past, and we see his growth in his refusal to accept his father's sword, respecting his wishes. He has nothing to keep him from dying except for his love for Daenerys, and because of the nature of unrequited love, we suspect he will likely sacrifice himself for Dany before the end. Varys and Melisandre had an interesting scene in which she brings up the idea of fate through the implication that they both must die in Westeros, perhaps after completing their piece in the puzzle. This makes us think that the mystery of the Red God will be explored through these characters, who will somehow lead our main heroes to the correct path according to destiny. With all of these things poised so well, however, it almost makes us hope that there will be one final twist, where the power behind everything is proven to be a sham, and they must rely on the quick thinking of our heroes to save everyone in the end. With lots of characters ready to die, the only one who actually did during the finale was Littlefinger. His death was satisfying in multiple ways. The Stark children got justice for everything he did, they revealed his crimes to the other lords, and it was surprising relief that it was him and not Arya. Although we loved Peter, his style of scheming would never have worked against an enemy like death. Now let's turn to some of the plot points and themes that we felt were important this season. Arya getting revenge for the Red Wedding was amazing, and we loved the satisfaction that we felt. This, however, was the first domino in a series of events that all seemed like rushed fan service. With the living Starks returning home, Jorah being healed, Dany meeting Jon, and much more, we were thrilled for a lot of it, but some things were a bit disappointing. With the glossing over of the long-anticipated meeting between beloved characters, we were left to wonder if a full 10 episodes would have allowed for some more meaningful conversations between them. The Night King's resurrection of Viserion was an explosive moment, and it made the possibilities for his army much broader, demonstrated by his decimation of Eastwatch. We loved the duels and the battles that we got to see. We particularly enjoyed all the reunions and the Fellowship of the Ring style adventure beyond the Wall. As artfully as George R.R. Martin subverted our expectations at every turn in the plot of the story so far, as things wrap up, he is now doing it within the show's theme. A battle between actual evil and true good is coming, and there now appears to be a definitive higher plan at work, as the veils obscuring the plans of the Red God and the Night King are slowly lifted away. Although this is a theme we are all too familiar with in epic fantasy, it was one that, admittedly, we hardly noticed was here. It was hidden the same way dragons and magic were at the beginning of the tale, muddled by the constant conflict between the families. Now we can see that from the opening scene of the series, things have been slowly building towards this conflict, and everything along the way was masterfully crafted distraction. Finally, let's talk fan theories and speculation. We already mentioned a few of them. Clegane Bowl. This is one theory that we feel certain will happen. If the confrontation between the two Clegane brothers in the Dragon Pit is any testament, it seems increasingly likely. The Valonqar. This theory states that either Jaime or Tyrion will kill Cersei. As our predictions about Brienne suggest, we are on Team Jaime for this one. Who is the Night King? While some people are convinced it is Bran or Jon, having been shown his creation by the Children of the Forest, we believe he is in fact just an ancient evil that may just have had similar powers to Bran. J plus D equals question mark? Will Jon and Dany get together? And can they have children? We enjoy the theory that Mirri Maz Duur's curse will end or not be effective if she sleeps with another Targaryen. Dany and Jon having a baby seems as though it is being hinted at, with their steamy final scene making it a definite possibility. The prince or princess that was promised. With a theory out there for every character being the prophesied savior, we think it is likely Jon or Dany. Now, if they had a child, he or she would become our number one pick for this one. Well, that's it for our Season 7 review. We will be creating more of these videos and also starting some other shows on the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the like and subscribe buttons, making it easy to find us again. Leave us your thoughts on where the show is headed in the comments section below, and be sure to share this video with your Game of Thrones loving friends. Thanks for watching. See you next time.